Hello, everyone. I am the Crimson Cadaverous, wishing you a very happy Taurus full moon lunar eclipse, which peaks on November 19th at 3:02 a.m. Central Time. And with this full moon also being an eclipse, it is going to be very, very powerful. Full moons are usually known for being a great time to manifest and bring about the things that we want into our lives, but eclipses are not necessarily the best time for that. Eclipses have a tendency to bring about unexpected changes into our lives, so this is really a better time to reflect and release. I put together an exercise today that we're going to talk about relating to the reflecting and releasing. And of course, y'all know that I'm a tarot card reader, so we're definitely going to pull some cards from my decks today. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about the energy of this full moon first. So like I said, it's in the sign of Taurus, which Taurus rules the second house. And the second house is all about possessions. So anything that you can touch, anything that's tangible. Taurus is an earth sign, so it definitely relates to anything that comes from the earth. So food, agriculture, but it also relates to anything with our health. It relates to our jobs and money, anything that we can touch, basically, anything that's tangible. So with this being an eclipse and it bringing about unexpected changes, there could be some unexpected changes in our lives, revolving around our possessions, revolving around our health, revolving around, anything to do with like the earth. So it might not happen to us, it might just be happening around us. But again, these unexpected changes are actually supposed to bring positivity into our life. It's supposed to put us where we need to be. And a lot of times we don't necessarily know where we need to be. And, so the universe is kind of giving us a shove. We do want to do a lot of our own reflecting and releasing so that, the universe isn't necessarily violently shoving everything out of our lives, which again, that's the exercise we're going to do today. But sometimes we don't know what we don't know, obviously, and, the universe does, and it puts us where it needs to be. So this is definitely not a time for manifesting because we don't really know where we need to be. This is a time to kind of like reflect and observe and kind of just go with the flow. That is definitely the best way of approaching an eclipse. So this eclipse, like I said, is in the sign of Taurus, which when the moon is in the sign of Taurus, it's exalted, which basically means it's more amplified. So that Taurus energy, that grounding energy, is even more amplified right now. But we have one interesting aspect that, is going to add, in my opinion, to that, sudden upheaval. And that's the fact that Uranus, the planet of sudden change and upheaval, has been in the sign of Taurus and will conjunct the moon right before the peak of this full moon. So that again could add some more amplification to that sudden upheaval and change that, we tend to see during eclipses. And again, we are also in Scorpio season. So Scorpio is kind of like the opposite, or is the opposite sign from Taurus, but it rules other people's possessions. It rules intimacy. It rules sexuality. It rules death. It rules a lot of the things that are mysterious and kind of foreboding to speak about in our society. So there could be, some amplification of issues in those areas as well. So just something to kind of keep in mind, because eclipses do tend to bring us some new truths. Things come to light, shocking news might come out. And again, I can't emphasize enough how much, this is definitely the time to go with the flow. Don't cling to things. Don't, try and make things the way that you want them to be at this time, because the universe is basically going to make it the way that it needs to be. So exercise that I put together today, I want you all to reflect back on the Taurus new moon, which occurred on May 11th of this year. So I definitely suggest taking some time to meditate before you do this, just to kind of clear your mind and get yourself in the right headspace. But when you're reflecting back on that time, I want you to think about what you understood at that time and think about how much you've learned since then. So if you need a little bit of help redoing your memory on this, I would definitely suggest going back into your phone and seeing what kind of pictures you took at the time. Maybe look at your social media, see what you were posting, look at your journal. Just kind of reflect back on where your headspace was at that time. And I want you to write yourself a letter, but you're writing yourself a letter to yourself from 6 months ago. And you're telling yourself how much you've learned and how much you've changed. And, really reflect on that. Think about all the things that, you thought were true at that time that you just kind of know aren't true now. And, or things in your life that just don't apply anymore. And so when you're done with that letter, read over it. And within this, you may find some things that need to change in your life. You don't need to wait for the eclipse energy to change it for you. When you read that letter, and I almost want you guys to, write it down in the comments for me when you do think about this. When you read that letter, I bet you some things are going to come up for you that you absolutely need to change, because you have learned a lot over the last 6 months. This was like right before the last eclipse series. And, a lot changed after that. So we need to reflect on what's changed and actually act accordingly in our lives because of that, knowledge that we've gained and the things that we've just kind of realized aren't necessarily the case anymore. So that's really the only exercise that I have for you guys. It's very simple. It's just kind of reflecting and releasing. So you're reflecting on the last 6 months and you're releasing the things that no longer serve you. You're basically helping the eclipse, do its job. So as y'all know, I'm a tarot card reader and I love to give readings to people. If you're interested in a reading, definitely send me a message or look at my bio. I've got my link tree, which is going to give you a link for scheduling an appointment with me. And I'd love to pull some cards for you today. So I actually got this new deck that I'm really excited about. It's my Golden Girls Tarot deck. And I really just felt like pulling from that today. It's really fun if you're a fan of the show. You can imagine how fun the cards can be, and like all the characters, Dorothy and Sophia and Rose and Blanche, they're all in here. And I really like pulling cards from this because it's definitely a really fun one. It's kind of like my Wonderland deck where it's like, it's got a little bit of comedy and fun to it. So I just want to pull some cards and just see if there's anything that Spirit wants to tell us about this full moon. So I pulled a few cards, and I definitely want to talk about them with you. So the first one that I pulled was the Fool. So the Fool is a card that, signifies new beginnings. So that may seem a little counterintuitive when we're talking about a lunar eclipse, which, lunar eclipses are all about endings. But the thing is, once something ends, it leaves space for something new to begin. So the thing that Spirit wants to remind us about this is this lunar eclipse, it may take some things from us. It may, things may end during this time period, but Spirit wants to remind us that something new will always begin. That, when something is ending, something is beginning. And so we need to remember that, and we need to approach it kind of like the Fool, just like, full-heartedly, just happy, and like, we've got Rose Nylon here, they always just call her kind of the Fool on the show. So, but she was always having a really good time. So, when all these crazy things come your way, just laugh about it and try and have fun with it. So I also pulled the Emperor. And the Emperor, and I think, who is this? This is Stan. So if you remember Dorothy's ex-husband, Stan, he was a pain in her ass. But he, in this deck, he represents the Emperor, which the Emperor is kind of like the father figure of the tarot. And he's all about structure and authority and taking charge. And the message here is that we kind of do need to take charge of our lives. As much as the eclipse kind of throws everything into chaos and, things are going all over the place, we can't really manifest right now, that kind of thing, but we still can take charge of what's happening to us. We still can be reflecting on what's going on and trying to act accordingly. Again, this kind of goes back to the Fool, where it's like, approaching things with like, the Fool's like agenda or whatever, which is basically just to approach it in a fun way. So the Emperor kind of wants us to remain, this is going to sound crazy, but like remain a little serious so that we can be the Fool, so that we have the space to be the Fool. So the last card that I pulled was the Queen of Wands. And the Suit of Wands, which, it's Sophia, and she's already kind of spicy and fiery. We love Sophia. But is the Suit of Fire. So that is all about like passion and drive and determination. And so the Queen of Wands is basically the queen of passion. So it's like Spirit wants you to remember that all of the things that are going to be kind of thrown around during the eclipse, which actually could last up until 6 months from now, it's meant to put us where we need to be. So we need to remember that. And we need to remember that, we need to remember what we're passionate about. And I really kind of think that this full moon is going to clear away a lot of the things that, are kind of just taking up too much of our time, aren't really making us happy, aren't really serving us. And it's going to kind of cut all these things away, have that full energy, have that like take charge emperor energy. And then again, the Queen of Wands energy is, no, you need to be, the queen of your own passions. You need to be the queen of the things that really matter in your life, that really drive you. Like what actually drives you in life? What actually keeps you going? This full moon eclipse is going to remind us of that. I feel that really, really powerfully. So I just want to tell you all that, this is really fun making these videos. If you like these videos, I really hope that you like, them, on social media. You share them with people. You subscribe to the channel if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're inspired to get a reading from me, please contact me to do so through my Linktree, which is in my bio, or you can send me a message. I'd really love to do a tarot reading for you. I also have links to my Etsy in my Linktree where I put my candles that I make. I make these lovely meditation candles. But if y'all have any questions about what I've said today, or you're interested in a tarot card reading, definitely please contact me. But I hope you have a wonderful lunar eclipse, and you guys have a great day. Goodbye.